Today we are kicking off the A Dresden Quilt Along. I feel like I've been waiting for this for a really long time. I'm so excited to dive back into this pattern, and I've got new fabrics to do it with, and I'm excited to be doing it with you. So if you aren't signed up for the Quilt Along, there's a link right below that you can do so. This is a free pattern, a free Quilt Along, and we're going to work on it all winter long very slowly. Tasks are going to come to you by email in video, and you have 2 weeks, to complete each task. There's no hardcore rules for staying, on schedule. So definitely, let it go with the flow of your life. If you get behind, that's okay. If you get ahead, that's okay. We're going to make a few blocks each week. Today, we're going to look over the quilt pattern real quick together, and then we're going to start cutting. So let's dive right in.
All right, so you are looking at the new edition of the A Dresden Quilt pattern. This is a pattern that I've had for a really long time in my resource library, and I've gone ahead and updated it for this year. It's the same pattern, just with, it looks more like my patterns that I write today. So this pattern is a free download, and you can get it just by signing up for the Quilt Along. It'll automatically be emailed to you. Make sure you save it to a device. And it is a clickable PDF. So if you click certain parts in here, they'll take you to whatever it's talking about. So this is a beginner quilt pattern. It is a very scrappy, adaptable quilt pattern. So if you don't want to buy fabrics for it and you want to just use your scraps, this is definitely a great pattern for that. But if you do want to buy fabric, you're looking to get 10 quarter yards, plus 24 to 5-inch scraps for the centers. And that will cover your foreground, which is basically all the Dresden plates here. And for background, you need 10 half yards. I always make this quilt with low volume, but you are welcome to use a different color if you'd like. So you'll see, those right there for you to get what you need for this quilt. If you're using fat quarters, you can do that. I think in the videos, the demo I'm about to show you of cutting, I'm actually using a few fat quarters too. So they're doable if you don't have quarter yards. I'll show you how to do that. All right, so clickable. If you need the Dresden ruler, you can just click this link and it will take you right to that ruler if you want to get it. You don't have to have this ruler because it comes with, a template in this pattern, but it's there for you if you want it. This heat and bond adhesive, though, unless you're doing some fancy needle turn applique, you're going to want one of these. They're the same thing. They just come in different sizes. So just choose the one you want. And go ahead. And so this is what we're going to do today is just get our fabrics cut. So that's on page 1. If you want to see other people's A Dresden quilts, just click the hashtag. It'll take you to Instagram where it'll pull up this hashtag and you can see all the A Dresden quilts. I don't know why. There's a few in here that aren't A Dresden quilts. They're just different Dresdens, but, these are A Dresden quilts. So that's there if you need inspiration. There's also several video tutorials. And I'm going to kind of go through all the demos for the Quilt Along in the videos that I'm making. But there's these videos too if you're working ahead or working behind or just, this is the diagram for cutting with the ruler, and that's kind of what it looks like. This is the diagram if you're cutting with that template down here. So here's the template. If you end up using these templates and you print this page out, make sure that this box measures 1 inch. If it doesn't, you need to reset your printer settings so that it does. And you basically don't want to scale anything. You want this coming out at exactly the size that I've made it. But the template, if you were to use that, it would look like that on a strip. And you can go through here, click here to watch a video tutorial of cutting Dresdens, and you can watch, this video, and it'll show you exactly how, to use the Dresden ruler. Uh-oh. I've put 2 circle templates. I've put 4-inch and I've put 4.5-inch. Some people like big circles, some people like little circles, so you've got an option there. You can also use household items. We have circle rulers, which are linked to here if you want them. They make fussy cutting a little bit easier. But if you are just working with scraps, like say something like this, these circle templates would be great. You can also use household items like bowls, cups, whatever. That makes, things a lot easier when you have a circle shape to trace. And then here we go into block assembly, which we won't get to until chapter 2 of this quilt along. But, we're making our 4-patch. This is what our 4-patch look like. Then we will sew the plates together. We will top stitch these plates to that 4-patch background that we made. And the last final step is to put the center on your plate. So it'll end up looking something like that. Or if you're getting super creative, it could look something like this. And I'm going to show you, all those methods. And there's a couple other methods. So we're working with that heat and bond stuff. We're working with that. And if you didn't want to work with that, I've got a few other tutorials here that you could watch and do. My double pointed Dresden plate tutorial is a pretty popular one. It lets you avoid sewing a center. The thing is though, is that you've got to be on top of it and start making your plates that way right away. So if you are interested in skipping this center, or if you're interested in not having any raw edge or doing any type of applique except for the Dresden plate itself, then that might be something that you are interested in. And let me just click. All right, so here is the page that will come up. And that's kind of what the double pointed looks like. You get to skip this. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure you make that decision up front before you start this quilt, because you'll have to sew both of these blades, both the ends of these blades, just like this side will be. And you need to do that, when you first start. All right, but there's some other methods of those centers if you want to have a look at those. And then at the very end, after we get all our blocks done, we'll have a quilt that, that looks like this. And you'll notice that on this quilt, there's only 20 plates, but there's 30 blocks. So a few blocks won't have anything on them. I think it makes for, a modern looking quilt. So this will be the very last step we do. For now, we are going to get everything cut. So we're all the way up here. And then what we'll do from between now and January is make plates. Or make blocks, I'm sorry. I think we're making 6 blocks every other week. So you've got 2 weeks between tasks. And in the middle of those 2 weeks, we have a giveaway. So I'll put all of that information in your emails that you get every week from me. There'll be a giveaway email, then there's a task email, giveaway, task, and we will follow that routine through January 24th. All right, so let me move on to cutting fabric and show you how to use that ruler, and we'll get this going. Okay, so I'm just trying to pick out my 10 foreground fabrics, and I'm using my Hope and Feathers fabric collection, which is brand new and comes out at the end of this month. I pulled all these for background. I'm going to need a couple of more to be able to have enough fabrics, so I've got to find fabrics from a different collection, but this is going to be my backgrounds. Oh, I think I got this one in here twice. Oh, that one too. This will be that one too. All right, so this will be the start of my background collection fabrics, and I'll find a couple of more low volumes, or maybe even some more, peaches for the background. And then I'm trying to decide between these 10 or these 10, and I know that it's not going to matter. Mine is going to be very subtle this go round, so I'm not going to have lots of pops of color change, but I think it'll still be really, really pretty. I'm really, really excited. I just can't decide on which of these fabrics. Or I could take the yellow out completely and then add this star, but I've already got so much. I just thought the yellow would be like a pop against all the pinky and purple orange and oranges. So I was thinking that would look really nice. Maybe if I took out one of these so I could have both of them, that might actually be better. So I'm just going to sit here and play around with this and try to decide, and then we'll be ready to prepare our fabrics. Okay, so I think I'm going to go with this. I lost the yellow completely, and I added this brown, this tan fabric. If you haven't watched my planning video yet, I'll put a link to it below, and that video really goes over the different looks that you can achieve with, you know, different fabrics. So if you want to watch, if you're still in the I can't decide on fabrics, watch that video, because it really kind of shows you a whole bunch of different Dresden quilt looks. I still say that when it came to all of my pictures, I felt like the ones with high contrast were just, you know, they popped and they just made you stare at them. But the ones with low contrast, I didn't get the same feels. But for some reason, I'm always drawn to low contrast. So I think I'm going to go with this, and I will let my centers be the thing that pops, hopefully. So these are the fabrics I'm going to use. One more thing I don't think I put in the other video or this one. If you are using fabrics like, let's say, with very, very big prints, I got a purple in here that is very pretty, but it's really this one right here. Something like this, something that has a very, very big print. Those, just remember that your Dresden blade is really, really tiny. So those have a tendency of getting lost. So you want to think more about tiny prints, tonals, solids, or things like that when it comes to these blades, because this fabric would almost be a waste. I'd be better off saving this, you know, for the background or for the backing or something. This really big, pretty print. I think it would be just a waste to cut it up into this quilt, regardless of how much I want to use it. All right, so I'm going to go with these, and then we're going to go to the pressing mat and get our fabric prepared. All right, so we're going to prepare fabric. This pattern called for 10 quarter yards for your foreground. But if you have fat quarters, like I have a fat quarter here, if you just fold it like this and cut it, you know, right across here, that can make a quarter yard. That will do as far as getting the right amount of pieces. So if you're sitting on fat quarters instead of quarter yards, cut this way, cut it with it folded like this. That's long side to long side. And it'll be the same thing as a quarter yard. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my starch, or I'm not supposed to be calling this starch anymore. This is pressing spray or starch alternative. And you want to spray your fabric and then press. This will make the fabric nice and crisp and easy to cut, easy to get accurate cuts. And then I'm just going to do that for all of my fabrics. And I think I've got half fat quarters and half quarter yards. So I'm going to have to do this little folding technique for a few of them. If you're not used to starching before you cut, give it a go, especially on a quilt where you might be working with triangles and stuff, because it really does make your seam allowances and your cutting and just, you know, piecing in general, it makes it so much easier to get, you know, better results. I'm going to finish up my pressing, and then we'll move forward. So I'm using two rulers. I'm using my big 6.5 by 24 inch ruler, and then the little Dresden ruler. And I'm going to put the little Dresden ruler to the side. Oh, and I want to tell you that I've stuck those true grips. We have them in the shop. I've stuck them to the back of this ruler because it doesn't have any of that grit that keeps them from moving. And for me, it shifts a lot. So I've stuck these
True Grips on here just to give it a little bit more of a sturdiness. It does help some, but they do fall off, so I'm always constantly, reapplying them after a few uses anyway. All right, so we're going to take our fabric, and first we just want to cut, a strip from it. We're cutting 2 strips from each fabric. The strips are 3.5 inch wide. So first we're just going to put a few bits of fabric. Now you cut however many fabrics that you want to at a time. I usually like to cut through 6 layers. I use the 60 millimeter rotary cutter just to make it easier to cut. And this guy really does allow me to cut through a few more extra layers. There's 6 layers, and we're gonna cut 2 3.5 inch strips. All right, so let's get that lined up and cut our 2 strips. This gets chucked. All right, and then we're gonna go 3.5. Cut, and then one more 3.5. All right, and you'll do that for all 10 of your quarter yards. So I'll finish cutting these, and then we'll move on to using the Dresden blade. I'm gonna cut again 3 layers of fabric at the same time. So I'm grabbing 3 strips. All right, so first I'm just gonna cut the selvage off these real quick. Cut all their selvage off. Then I'm gonna take my Dresden ruler, and I'm finding the 3.5 line on it right there, 3.5 line, and that 3.5 line is going to sit right on top of this fabric, and then the bottom edge of the ruler is going to sit flush with this edge of the strip. So let me get over this side, line it up, and I want to try to get it as close as I can to this edge here. Hold it in place and cut. And I'm just going to shift this just a little bit. Come over to this side. I find it better to work at a corner of a table the way these things get cut. And cut right there. And so there are my first 2 Dresden blades. All right. Then after you get that first cut done, you'll line back up. Now this edge of your strip has already been cut, so you will line that up flush with that edge of the ruler. And notice that I flipped my ruler. Line it up, and then I'll cut on this side. Shift the fabric out of the way. Flip the ruler, line back up, 3.5 inch line and the bottom of the ruler, and then this side. Cut, pull back on the strip, and then I'm going to do this until I've cut 10 times. So just like that. When I shift these fabrics, because I'm using multiple layers, I want to make sure that, I'm pulling all of them, because, I don't want to have to relayer up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm half done. Line back up, cut, shift, flip. All right, line back up, cut, shift, flip. Just like this. And we're doing that 10 times across the fabric. That's 8. And if you have to take your time doing this, take your time. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's it. You're going to do every single strip just like that. All right, so you're left with these little bit of scraps. Now, if you're doing mega scrappy, meaning if every blade in your Dresden plate is going to be different, maybe you're working with your scraps, you could keep cutting. You could at least get 3 more out of this little scrap right here. Probably too small to use as your center, but you could get more blades. I'm just going to throw mine in my scrap bin.
Okay, so background. I am wanting mostly low volume background again. And These 5 fabrics here, they are from my new Hope and Feathers line, and they're, you know, made to go together. They're also made to go with my blades. So I want to use this, but 5 fabrics isn't enough. I need 10. So you really need 20 6.5-inch strips to get this background done. The pattern tells you to buy 10 half yards, cut each half yard twice for 2 strips, and that'll give you enough fabric. But if you wanted to use more than that, you can. I found a bunch of low volumes where I couldn't get 2 strips, so I would just need a few more to add to that, like this one. I think this one would go really, really well with these other fabrics. I think I might need like 2 more fabrics, but I should have enough. Let me just kind of keep digging in these drawers. I wanted to try to find something a little bit wider, like this one. This is from my Gentleness collection. I think that would be good. And I'll get 2 strips from these fabrics, and then some of these I can get 2 from. So I'm just going to kind of keep a running total because I'm using more low volumes, you know, than the pattern calls for. But if you want to just pick out 10 fabrics, that's fine too. I'm just kind of showing you how to get a little bit more scrappy about it. And I don't have 10 half yards on me, so there's that. Anyway, let me get all these cut. I'm not going to do a demo of this cutting. There's directions in the pattern, and it's going to be way easier compared to those Dresden blades. All right, so I'm getting these fabrics prepped. And I wanted to tell you that, if you're working with low volumes, and this probably could apply to different colors, but it's mostly going to apply to a low volume background. When you're choosing your low volumes, you kind of want to make sure that you are choosing some different scales of prints or busyness. So like this one's really, really busy, while this one not busy. So I want to kind of have both. If I use too many busy prints, things start looking a little bit overwhelmed. Like one of the fabrics I'm going to use is this big giant floral. If I used all big giant florals, while it could be cute, it could also be harder to get to see your Dresden plates. So I just kind of want to be mindful about the fabrics that I'm choosing. I want to choose some that are busy. I want to choose some that, not so busy, some that don't have a lot going on. And if you are worried about it, throw in a couple of white solids, and that could even calm everything down a little bit more. So I'm going to finish getting all these pressed, get them all cut, and then I'll meet you when I'm done. Okay. So we have all of the cutting done for this quilt. You should have 120 6.5-inch squares and 400 Dresden blades. 400 Dresden blades sounds like so much, but it only makes 20 plates. So go ahead and accept now that this is a very time-consuming quilt. We're going to be making a few blocks at a time. So we're going to try to spread it out, give you plenty of time to do everything. And remember that this is just chapter 1, and you have 2 weeks to get everything cut. So there's definitely no need to rush it or, hurry along. You've got 2 weeks to cut all this. The centers, we're going to show you those kind of as we go. Next chapter, we will dive in to how to make the blocks, and we'll go deep dive into those centers. About the prizes, I'm doing bi-weekly prizes this time, about all of that. And all of those details should be in your inbox if you're signed up for this quilt along. If you aren't signed up for the quilt along, there's a link below where you can sign up and get all the information that's happened so far, everything you've missed, the free pattern, all of that. We are using the hashtag A Dresden QAL over at Instagram to connect there. So if you want to post, maybe the fabrics you're using or post a picture of what you've cut, you can do that. Use that hashtag, and that way we can connect and, get to know each other over there. It's fun to see everybody's fabrics and work that they're doing. Makes us not feel so alone, right? All right, well, I will see you there. If you have any questions, comments, put them below or send me a private message. And I will see you in 2 weeks when we start making our blocks.